Welcome back to Raised by Giants live discussion. Good to see everyone in the chat. Welcome anyone that may be new to the channel, any moderators and/or channel members out there, and anyone that's listening to the replay. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be breaking down some amazing conspiracies here with a friend of the show, Juan Ayala. So we are a viewer supported show, guys. We don't have any sponsorships, advertising, or affiliate programs. It's just me. I do it all. I'm the only one making this show possible. I do everything. And it gets rough sometimes. And I really appreciate your guys' support. So help support the show. PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description. Also, you can send in super chats and super stickers if you would like a question or a comment to be highlighted. If you've been here for a long time or if you're new to the channel and my content, show some love and support for the channel and send in some super chats during the show. Channel memberships are also available and are a great way to help support the show monthly. And by becoming a channel member, you get access to bonus episodes. And there will be a new channel members only video release on Wednesday just for the channel members. So those of you that are already a channel member, you're in for a treat. And those of you that are not, click the more button underneath the title of this video to the drop down of the description. All of my links are there that you need, including my guest links. And with that down, we have with us today podcaster, researcher, and host of the One on One podcast, here to get weird with us and have some fun times. Juan Ayala, welcome back to the show.
How do I look, bro?
Fantastic. Beautiful.
Thanks, dude. What's up, man?
What's going on, dude?
Not much, bro. I'm ready to get into it. Talk some stuff today. I was listening to an interview of what's that one guy, Greer? I'm ready for the aliens, dude. Ready for the Project Bluebeam. I'm ready for all that stuff.
Bro, if they don't start something, like, I've just completely lost faith in the entire thing, bro. They need to just be showing up. They need to disclose a giant spaceship, some alien bodies, or something. But I was watching an X-Files clip the other day, and I thought that a lot of this stuff within the community comes from X-Files. Like, it's like legitimately parodied from X-Files. And there was this one scene where they were talking about the aliens at Area 51 and that it's all fake and that it's all set up for a psyop in the future, and that the only way that they can do it is if they reverse engineer, biogenetically engineer some kind of alien being that humans created that will be like the false flag. The extraterrestrials really don't exist. And I'm like, holy shit. This is what people have been talking about. It's the same thing.
It's interesting, right? Because this Greer guy, which a lot of people think that he is a grifter, you know, these whistleblowers that are supposed to be blowing the whistle, but yet can't ever say anything. They have to get clearance from who? If you're a whistle, isn't that the whole point of being a whistleblower? But in this day and age, Ryder, what would be the evidence that would be accepted? Because this is coming from a time that we got AI, we got deep fakes and all these different things, right? What would actually satisfy everyone as evidence? And this guy Greer is like, the disclosure is coming, 911 was the first, little dip. Then 2020 was the next one. It's like, and it's coming. It's already been 5 years since 2020, bro. Like, how much longer are we going to wait for them to show it? Like, you and I was in elementary school. I was reading about the Bermuda Triangle, and I'm like, dude, aliens are a thing. Like, this is crazy. You have have you ever seen a UFO?
I showed a video the other day on a show that I was doing where I saw something really strange in my backyard when I was living in Colorado that looked like a freaking boomerang, dude. It was the weirdest thing that I'd ever seen, and I captured it on military grade night vision goggles because we were having like this little get together with some friends in Colorado, and we were in the backyard, and this girl comes up and is like, "Hey, I got some military grade night vision goggles. Maybe we should scan the area to see if we can see anything." So she whipped them out. They were recording. I put them up into the air, and then I immediately see this thing that looks like a freaking weird boomerang, like flying V thing. and it's just going through the air, and I have it on video. I could actually probably bring it up here if you actually want to see it. But I thought it was, and I was like telling them as I was seeing it, I was like, "What am I seeing here?" And I was like, can you guys see this with your own eyes?" And they said that they couldn't actually see it. Here it is.
Wait, what? So hold on, dude. Hold on. So only you could see it, but they couldn't?
They couldn't see it with their naked eyes. So this is a video.
Oh, with their naked eyes.
Yes, because I was the only one that had the night vision goggles. So you're gonna see it come down from the top left hand corner here. See it right here?
That thing right there, yeah, that's
Yeah. So it comes down, and I'm trying to follow it, and because I'm seeing it, and I'm at this point I'm asking them, I'm like, "Hey, can you guys see this? Like, look up in the tree line and see if you can see this. What I'm seeing with the night vision goggles," and they couldn't see it with their naked eye. So, and it's not flapping. It looks fairly big, but again, you can't tell because it's completely pitch dark outside. But I try and follow it as long as I possibly can. And I tried to
well,
show this to like several people over the time, and they're like, "Oh, blah, 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 blah." It's like the real things that you actually may experience is like just kind of pushed to the side, and it's all for like the fake nonsense. Now I can't tell you 100% what this is. I have absolutely no idea, and that's another problem with the community is like when you don't know what it is, they're not interested. You got to say it's definitely an extraterrestrial craft, and then it'll be picked up, you know.
well, dude, that video right there is pretty crazy because at least you caught yours on video. I didn't catch mine on video, but I had my wife and my son with me. So they saw it. And I know that I don't know what I saw. Therefore, it was a UFO. It was like this orange orb, just no sounds, no flashing lights, no nothing. It was like a transparent. It was like an orb like this, but this only the center was orange, and you could tell that like the rest of it was kind of like see through. So like kind of like a jellyfish, right? And it just like zoomed across the sky. I didn't record anything, but I was thinking about this interview that I was going to do the next day with the guy, Mike. God, I always mess up his name. He did the owls as aliens. I'm sure you've had him on the show. Mike McClellan, I think is his name. Mike Cleland.
Not striking a
Oh
bone
man.
with me.
Aliens as owls. God, man, I feel so bad. So Mike Cleland, yeah, Cleland, the messengers, owls, synchronicities, and the UFO abductee. He wrote a book about how like owls, these freaking 3-4 foot owls, whatever, that are actually extraterrestrials in disguise. And I was thinking about that interview at the moment that I was smoking a cigar, and I was smoking this, and I was blowing the smoke in the air. So I was looking up. And my son was the first one to see it. He's like, "Hey, what is that?" Right? A little kid, and I recorded his reaction after, and he got all crazy. He's like, "Yeah, and they came down and the little aliens came out." I was like, "All right, bro, this is it. Like, this is not proof enough for me, dude. You just completely ruined any video evidence I was going to have about it." But yeah, he was freaking out. And my wife, who was not even into any of this stuff, she was like, "Yeah, that was weird. Like, that was something. I still to this day don't know what it is." I live next to an airport, so I'm like, I don't know, maybe it was a balloon. But the if you release a balloon, let's say you release like a foil balloon or something, it's gonna go up in the air, and this thing was moving across at a steady height, and then just left until I couldn't see it anymore. But so again, I know that I don't know what I saw. Therefore, I mean, that's kind of like the definition of an unidentified flying object. But I didn't get it on camera how you did, which is pretty crazy. And so I think that maybe similar to how this Greer guy and the CE5 and all that stuff that he does, because they do like some sort of meditation, don't they? They like they summon these things.
Yeah, supposedly that's how it works, is that they transmit telepathically to the UFO ship. So they use their superpowers to contact the UFO, and somehow they remote view the UFO and then give them their exact coordinates. And I don't know how they even know their exact coordinates or could remember it while they're in a meditative state. But they give them their exact coordinates, and then the UFO alien ship shows up, and everyone sees it, and everyone freaks out, and everyone has an experience. But I've heard I heard one guy say, I think that it was on Joe Rogan's podcast, that if You don't. No. It was Sean Ryan. It was that one guy, that
Chris Bledsoe, yeah.
Chris Bledsoe. Okay, he was saying that the CE5 is, if someone is in the CE5 course or doing the CE5 ability to summon these UFOs, that if someone is in there that doesn't believe in aliens or UFOs, then that makes it to where everybody else don't get to see anything. So he's essentially saying that it's based off of your belief. So you have to wholeheartedly believe in it and that you're going to summon UFOs, because if there's one person that's a doubting Thomas, if you got a doubting Thomas in there, the whole thing isn't going to work. You might as well everyone just go home.
I believe though, Ryder. I believe. I think that day I kind of might have summoned it. What do you think of that guy's story, the Bledsoe story? Like, you think he's legit? You think he's, because they've had all these people study. He's been on the History Channel. He's been all over the place, and it's just so easy, in my opinion, to just make something up, right? Like, you can just make a story and just sell it and run with it and just like believe it to the point where you believe it yourself. And that's why I have a hard time. Like, just give me the evidence. We don't care about all these hearings and all this other BS that they're doing. Like, I want the White House lawn interview with the alien gay, and I just want him to talk for telepathically to all of us through the TV or something. And it's like, here we have him. Here's his spacecraft or whatever it is, and that's it. Because that's what I believed when I was a kid, bro. Like, I'm 30 years old, and when I was in middle school, I was reading about Bigfoot and all these other things, and I believe since then, I'm like, I think aliens could possibly, like, I think that there are ETs, bro. I mean, I don't know. And it seems like they've politicized everything, and it's like this show of like, disclosure's coming, and some dudes just jerk off to that, like, oh, disclosure's coming, yes. It's an endless circle jerk, bro. Like, I want the good stuff.
Disclosure boner, baby. That's what it is.
I want the good stuff, and I want to know when they're gonna give it to us.
Well, Mexico tried to do that. Do you remember that whole big thing with Jaime Maussan, where they revealed the alien bodies, and like everyone was like freaking out for like a day or whatever? And they're like, "Oh my God, Mexico hearings! They revealed the alien bodies."
And it's like, and this is why I subscribe to. I like the extra tempestrial idea. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, where they're time travelers from another time traveling back to visit us and study us. You ever heard that theory?
I have heard that through a theory of some of the UFO cults that I've researched and delved into. And I think a lot of that is like them just trying to come up with some sort of explanation, that because they don't exactly know what they are, so they're trying to come up with anything. I mean, if you're the government, right, and you're going to put out all this wacky nonsense garbage to cloud exactly really what's going on. And we've seen the evidence of that with the Paul Benowitz case. I've been on your show discussing it, and it's a very familiar case. They just fed him a bunch of nonsensical garbage about extraterrestrials, and then he went out and told everybody all of that made up nonsensical garbage, and everyone started to believe that and then run with those stories, like that extraterrestrials signed a treaty with the government and the military to do a extraterrestrial base in New Mexico and all that, and that's where you get the Dulce base or the Duluth base or whatever people call it. They're so strict with their terminology, and if you misspell something, you must be a Fed, or you mispronounce something, you must be a Fed. But that's what my contention is like, they've just muddied the waters of all this stuff so much, and it's gotten so grilled into the zeitgeist of everybody that's even remotely interested in the topic. And you have to scroll through so much garbage and nonsense whenever you research any of this stuff to actually get down to the truth of anything. And that leads me to the next thing is like, Brett Weinstein was just on Joe Rogan the other day, and I was listening to the conversation, and he's talking about how he believes that these crafts are actually projections because they go in a direction that is not humanly possible. Like, they make turns and go and do things that wouldn't be possible for any biological entity to be inside of the craft.
Okay.
And he's kind of related that to some of the particles and things that have been sprayed in the sky. So it's made it easier to create this holographic projection of a craft, and that's what everyone has seen, which I thought was an interesting take. I mean, we've kind of heard that before with like the Project Blue Beam stuff, and then
I've never heard that before. This is the first time I'm hearing about that one.
Well, it was an interesting concept, and I think that there might be something to that. And I've actually looked into some, but we might actually have that wrong as well. Because I 100% believe if extraterrestrial life exists, let's say that all the planets in our solar system, well, not even in our solar system, but
Space
just
is fake, dude. So just
in the galaxy. But ride with me on this trip, Juan.
all right,
Ride with me
I'm with
on
you.
the trip. So we're under the assumption that in this trip that extraterrestrial life exists. Well, they wouldn't be traveling physically here, right? They would, if there were highly advanced entities or creatures, they would figure out a way to just bilocate. So it would be like they aren't really here. It's like a projection of what they would be while they're on their planet, right? And there's evidence of that with like psychics and remote viewing. Ingo Swann had a technique that was called perfect sight integration, where you go into this remote viewing state and you're essentially able to bilocate your body to another area, and you're able to influence the environment. I've been trying to talk about the bilocation, perfect sight integration stuff for a while now, but just take that step and put it on to like a bigger scale. So it's not that they're actually traveling physically.
So that would make them interdimensional then.
Sort of, but not even that. It would just be like a holographic projection of them, but they're not really physically here.
You see how that sounds, right? I mean, I don't know if it sounds pretty crazy. So that what they're projecting their light body or something into reality?
Well, yeah, I mean, like astral projection is 100% real. Like, I 100% believe that remote viewing is real. I mean, the government had a remote viewing program for like 15 years. Why would they keep it running for that long if it didn't work? It obviously works, and obviously some people can do it. So, and I'm just kind of piggybacking off of what Brett Weinstein was talking about with this projection, and he believes that it's like a projection from people that's happening on Earth. Like it's the government that's creating these projections in the sky that people are seeing. And I'm just under the assumption, if it's a theory, of course, if extraterrestrials exist, they're not physically coming here. They're projecting into our reality through some sort of bilocation. I don't know. It might sound crazy, but it might be legit.
I got a poll running right now. There's only 22 votes. Are aliens real? C, 23%. No, they are fake and gray, 74%. So I mean, a lot of people aren't believers, bro. They think that they're fake and gray. So, but then you have the concept of, if we take mythology and ancient religion and culture, like the things that they're describing kind of sort of falls, a lot of people like to say that aliens or ETs are fallen angels, right? That they're the watchers, that they're the Nephilim or whatever it is that they say it is. And like, that's what we're experiencing now. And it's more spiritual than anything, and it's not sort of, I like to think that there is a I think it would be very ignorant of us to believe, if the solar system is a real place, right, with other realities and other worlds, that we're the only ones. Because if God is as powerful as he is, why would he only make one race of people? You get what I'm saying? Or entities, or whatever you want to call them, right? And take, for example, like the bottom of our oceans, or even the Amazon rainforest, where they're still finding new forms of life every so often. Wouldn't it make sense that there is something? But the fact that they look like us is what kind of strays me away from that, because what are the chances that they do look like us? What are the chances that everything in the entire existence of reality, all the other extraterrestrials look like us? And that's the thing about the alien gray, that it's kind of what people say is a more evolved form of humans, right? Of Homo sapien. with no genitalia. They usually have the bigger eyes, the bigger head, shorter in height. It's like, what are the chances that they actually do look like us? Because if you look at any animal at the bottom of the ocean, that's an alien, dude. Have you ever seen a manta ray on mushrooms? Or not the
Me
manta
on
ray.
mushroom or the manta ray on mushrooms?
No. Let me rephrase that. Have you ever taken mushrooms and looked at a manta ray and looked at the manta ray? That's an alien, bro. You ever, think of the concept of a crab. A crab is like an armored cockroach, if you really think of the ocean. Shrimp are cockroaches of the sea, if you really think about it. And like, look how crazy those life forms look compared to us, right? And all the other stuff that lurks at the bottom of our oceans that we haven't even seen. I know the big one recently was that one fish that swam up. Did you see that story that people were freaking out about? The
The
fish
one that crawled on the ocean.
no, it was like I think it's called an anglerfish. Let me pull it up here. Anglerfish.
I know there's one fish that is able to like crawl out of the water and like.
Here, share my
supposedly
screen real quick.
hasn't popped up yet. You got to share it.
Oh, my bad. This thing, I know people were talking about this, and this is from 15 hours ago, actually. So this thing here, why did the deep sea angler rise thousands of feet in the ocean? Scientists baffled by odd behavior. I thought it was AI. I thought it was AI. You see, if they were to show us a video of some alien, this is an alien, bro. Look at that thing. Look at that. That is an alien. You ever, again, take mushrooms, look at a manta ray. It's an ET, bro. Like it's so crazy looking. Like, you ever been to the aquarium in Atlanta where they have the whale shark?
See, no, this thing just
yeah, there's an aquarium in Atlanta. They have a freaking whale shark in it, bro. It's like one of the biggest aquariums that there ever is. And this whale shark, you can see it you go through the tunnel and you see it just swimming over, and you're like, bro, that's wild. Like that's a life form. Like that's a thing that exists in the wild. So again, if you take all that into consideration, like, hey, look at this thing that looks crazy. There is a possibility that there is something else far more advanced than us that could be existing. And I don't know if I buy the whole what they're putting into the air lately. My allergies have been acting up lately, so maybe they've been going a little bit too ham here in Florida with the whatever it is. Maybe they're ramping it up for the holographic projection fight scene or something. Like, I don't know, right? And do you know that Orlando is the city in Florida with the highest UFO sightings?
I did not know that. I've heard that about a couple of places. That New Jersey was.
Well, in Florida at least, Orlando is,
yeah.
which is like the main hub. But one thing that I was thinking about was you mentioned the X-Files earlier, and I was doing a little bit of research on like Florida movies and stuff, because I've been going live every Thursday doing Florida decodes and all on Florida movies, and I was using ChatGPT, and the way I use ChatGPT is to like compile ideas and then you fact check ChatGPT because it's kind of retarded.
Yeah.
And one of the things that said to me today was that in, I believe it was the 2 X-File movies, they always talk about the Everglades being a special sort of place. I haven't confirmed that, but you mentioned X-Files. Have you heard anything on the X-Files alluding to the Florida Everglades being some sort of like mysterious place for like government experimentation at all?
Not that I can remember, but Florida has always kind of been that type of area. I mean, Florida is supposedly where the Fountain of Youth is, and that the Native Americans know where the Fountain of Youth is, and it's full of like cryptids, like really weird and strange cryptids that I had never even known existed, like the muck monster and like all kinds of.
The Florida Squallies, you ever hear of them?
The Squallies? No, what are they?
Bro, I'm a professional in the Florida Squall. So the Florida Squallies are Florida pig people. And allegedly it was this scientist that was doing experimentation in the Everglades with some pigs. Maybe he was getting down with the pigs and he created this half human, half pig hybrid that is loose somewhere in the Everglades. And what's interesting was that I was planning to do a documentary on the Florida Squallies, right? And there's always this one story that people always talk about this guy in 2010 or something or other, where he was riding his bike through Alligator Alley and he was knocked off his bike and, crashed. The police came out. Apparently he was very intoxicated. But one of the things that really stood out in the police report was that he said that the boogeyman had caused him to crash. Now I tracked down, I submitted because this was before like it was on the internet or anything. I submitted a request for like the records of that police report and everything. And they actually did get back to me. I think it was the Naples Police Department or something or other. Because I wanted to track the guy down to kind of maybe interview him for the documentary. But apparently he was, again, that's what the police report says, that he was super drunk. So now, was he really drunk, or were they trying to cover up for the Florida Squallies because they don't want people knowing about him, right? So you got to kind of, but that's the only story really that you hear about. There's no other, people talking about it or other accounts that I could track down and maybe, hey, have 4 or 5 people. I mean, if anyone listening has ever seen a Florida squally in the Everglades, or if anyone lives in the Everglades, because there are people who live out there, if they've ever seen anything weird, hit me up, because I'd be interested to maybe have you on a documentary, because no one's ever done a documentary on them. And I think it'd be interesting to maybe go and hunt for some Florida squallies, bro. But yeah, that's the Florida pig people of the Everglades, dude. Some people say it was a government experimentation gone wrong that escaped and they lived on in the Everglades, because the Everglades is a big place, bro. There's hundreds of thousands of acres out there that anything can go down. And there's actually a company right now that is being exposed for, they put out this project for like a drinking water reservoir or something like that, right? And they're digging out in the Everglades, but it turns out that they were using that as a reservoir, that cover story, for a mining operation. And apparently there's about $800 million worth of rock within the Everglades that this company was bringing out. And last I heard, they shut them down. But hey, that maybe the rock story is a cover story for something else, like what's truly going on in the Everglades, that these people obviously want to get to. Some of the biggest companies in Florida that they're mining for, what's under the Everglades, like what's going on. So I think Florida is a very magical place. I think that's why we have the Florida man archetype. And I think that not to get too woo-woo here, but we are on the schizospiracy hour here. We can just get all crazy, but maybe the energy of Florida, some people can't handle it, bro, and they just go crazy. They just go off their rocker, and that's where you get the Florida man archetype that like possesses people,
The Florida man, the wild man. Isn't it interesting, Juan, how all these things, like even with aliens, and it's the same with cryptids, the longer that people talk about them, the more that like the story evolves. Like it then begins to take on like different aspects. Like in the beginning of the UFO phenomenon, it was 100% a physical craft. Then it's turned into an interdimensional craft. Like they're 100% physical aliens. Now
and now they come out of my
interdimensional
ass.
aliens.
Yeah,
Exactly. Now
crazy.
they creep up there in a tube and nibble on your asshole. And that seems to be like the same track that cryptids have kind of taken too, is that, especially when it comes to like Bigfoot and Sasquatch and stuff like that, is that it starts out as a 100% physical entity, and then it goes, then when we don't find any proof of a physical entity, then it's interdimensional. And then,
Because again,
it's out of interdimensional, and then it's into government experiments.
Because it's how you're saying, it's an answer for something that they can't answer. And one of the things that I remember evolving before it turned into a gay ass dog was the chupacabra. And I grew up in Puerto Rico with like stories of people, in my town that were allegedly experiencing clawed hands coming through the shutters and all that. I had my dad's friends had livestock killed when all this was going down, and I remember them talking about, pulling an all-nighter with shotguns and everything to see if they could find it. And if you look at where the chupacabra started before it became this canine BS, no, I'm not talking about that gay chupacabra. I'm talking about the real one, the one that was like a little alien with like the spikes down its back. That started from a lady that they had interviewed who had just finished seeing, she had some encounter, right? And she had just finished seeing Species. And it was actually a podcaster or radio host at that time that interviewed her. And she described it like that. She's like, you ever seen the movie Species that had just come out at the time? And then from then on, after that, it was that little creature for a while. It was like the little reptilian thing, weird. I'm sure you could Google it and find it. And it was that for a while. And then from there, it evolved to like this canine, like this dog thing in Mexico. So I think that to me, that's the Temu version, like the dog chupacabra version. That's like the Temu version. That's like a knockoff. I remember the real chupacabra, and it looked a lot cooler than the freaking lame one that we have now.
That's what I was talking about the other day, was the chupacabra. What happened to the chupacabra, and why does no one talk about the chupacabra anymore?
Let's make the chupacabra great again.
Gray again.
Look, so it went from like this thing, right? Like this weird thing that would suck the blood from the livestock to then this. I'm like, what? Where do we go wrong? I like this version way more than this. Unmasking the chupa. This is a government psyop. This is the psyop right here to make you think it's a little dog. No, I remember. Either that or it was Mandela effect, but I remember when it was like this, dude. Can you imagine seeing that thing coming at you? One time I was walking through the Puerto Rican rainforest by myself one time because I had parked at the top, and then I went through some trails and it put me down at the bottom. And I was walking up by myself, and I'm gonna be honest, bro, I was kind of scared because I was, again, all the stories I'd heard before. I'm walking by myself, it was like dead quiet, and there's barely any cars that go up there. I don't know, man. I could have been taken out by the chupacabra once upon a time.
This thing does look like more of a reptilian like nature, and then you also have that the lizard man of I think that it was South Carolina.
Right here, boom. This is it. 1995 witness. That's it right there. Look at that.
Yeah. That's a little evil alien reptilian man.
That thing is, now you see that? That doesn't strike fear in my heart. This does. If I saw that thing running to her, bro, I'd punt it so hard, bro. Oh man, he'd take a 6 hour to the face.
You gotta
100%.
have a samurai sword posted up next to your bed, dude.
But this is 1995 where I was 1 year old, and this lady gave this description based off the movie Species, which I'm sure you've seen before. But it's interesting that a lot of these stories evolve based on what's in the zeitgeist and the consciousness of people within the area. And you and I were talking about like, the homunculus earlier of like, is it real? Is it not? And you're like, well, I believe in thought forms and egregores and tulpas and stuff. So I think that the homunculus could be real. It's like, yeah, but the difference between a homunculus and a thought form is with me right now. Like, here, he's chilling with me right now. But the homunculus isn't here. You just can't see him, right? And it's like, it's a physical thing versus like a thought project that anyone can really, come up with. But there are people who, what was it? The Slender Man murders for a while. There was like these girls that sacrificed their friend to the Slender Man entity.
That happened in West Virginia, I believe.
Where and if you think about that, so people will blend reality with make believe or these egregores or thought forms, and it becomes a reality to them. And who's to take that away from them? So I find it super fascinating, like any cryptid or anything really of like a belief system, because for some people that's like true. I just did the Truman breakdown where the Truman syndrome is an actual, like, it's not a officially known condition, but it is a thing that some people experience, which I'm sure you've met them, Ryder, where they go, that Disney movie that was modeled after me. It's like, oh shit, really?
I actually had a guy on the show that was with Jerry Marzinski. Have you Are you familiar with Jerry Marzinski?
The schizophrenic demon guy?
Yes.
Yes.
He had him on, and he was a really good guy, and he was basically like, cracked out on meth, which drugs is to used, they can influence this entire thing. But anyway, he was on high amounts of meth, and he
Nice.
100% thought that his entire reality was just like the Truman Show, that he was 100% in the Truman Show, and that all the people around him, and that there was cameras on him like 24/7, which increases that amount of like paranoia. But I thought that that was a really good episode because some people do 100% believe that.
I'll be honest, bro. Sometimes I think that everyone in the chat is actually just AI generated people that aren't even real. And it's
Could
like
be.
they were just created, right? It's just ChatGPT under a whole bunch of different names. So that's kind of different, right? It's not like the main character syndrome sort of thing, but it just makes you think, right, with the whole dead internet theory of how many people on the internet are actually real versus how many aren't. And have you ever looked into that, the dead internet theory?
I've heard of it, and you'd have to refresh my memory a little bit on it. But I don't know how much truth that you could put into that, because every person that I know has a cell phone, so
Yeah.
every person is definitely on the internet. Now, if every person probably isn't reacting to everything and posting all the time, 24/7, but I'm pretty confident to say that a majority of the population on the planet has a smartphone and
See, everyone in
has
the chat
access
right
to the
now
internet.
is saying that they're real. Isn't that what a bot would say? Like, hey, I am a real person. Like, isn't that how they would act? Like, I'm real, right? When you call them out on it.
Well, I think we need to give them that bot thing where they got to move the puzzle piece to the right space to confirm that they're not a bot.
So we have 58 votes. 76% no, they're fake and gray. So I'm gonna end the poll there. I think I'm pretty sure we know where people are at with the whole alien situation. But yeah, the whole concept that you were bringing up earlier about it being some sort of holographic project. See, but my whole thing is why would they do that? Like, I know that which was the president that talked about that we needed an alien invasion? Was that Reagan?
Yeah, Ronald Reagan.
What a weird thing to say, right? Of like, all we need to come together as a people, all we need is like some what was, let me look it up what he said exactly. Ronald Reagan alien invasion, because that's such a bizarre thing, and that was what, the 70s.
Yeah, see, I think that the reason that they would have to, because I don't think that they can, if they exist, it would be almost dang near impossible to travel through space. And we're putting the caveat on it that space is an actual thing. So it would be impossible for them to travel through space because it would take freaking years and years and years, probably hundreds of years, to get to a faraway star system. So the easiest way to do it would just be to bilocate into our reality. That's the only way that the type of conclusion that I could come to.
So
Because they physically can't. Skip Atwater was kind of talking about this on Sean Ryan's show, where he was basically the manager, or the tasking manager of the remote viewers at Fort Meade in the Stargate project, which was the remote viewing unit. And he had said that he had contacted this entity, and his first question to this entity was like, how do you travel? Like, how do you get here? And the entity told him that they don't.
but
They
what
don't
if
travel.
they
stay
come
exactly
from,
where they are.
but look at this, dude. I just seen this last night. Ancient forest discovered. Let me see here. 2025. I just seen a thing pop up on my phone where they discovered a whole forest underground. It's like, what if it could come, or February 3rd, 2025, an ancient forest found under 5,000-year-old ice in the Beartooth. What the hell is that? Montana scientists are gaining international attention after uncovering a series of ancient trees from a melting ice patch in the Beartooth Mountains. The trees hold clues to how life adapts in changing climate. Like, what if, I thought it was an underground forest, which those exist, by the way, underground forest, and a whole underground ecosystem. What if they do come from like the whole thing with Admiral Byrd, bro, where he was talking about that he had encountered these crafts that could travel quickly from the North and South Pole at high rates, and that there was like this whole civilization, and then the posthumously published book allegedly of his diary where he talked about being and talking to these beings and entities down there. It's like, I think that there are, my friend lives in Vietnam, and the Dong Nong Caves, I think is what it's called. It's an entire ecosystem, dude. There's only certain animals that live under in there. Let me look it up. Dong Nong Caves. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. Yeah, so Hang Son Doong, the world's largest cave. Bro, it's crazy big. And there are entire, look at this, bro. If they stay where they are, bro, hollow earth all the way. Look at the people. Look at the cave. And you can go out here and you can camp there for, I don't know how much money it is. It's like 10,000 or something like that. Because I was gonna do it one time with my friend, and look at the little tents. And this is a whole forest underground that only certain species of animals and things live here, right? So, like the whole movie, what's that movie, Descent or whatever, where they're underground and they got the weird creatures hunting them or whatever it is. Like, what if there's a whole civilization of another type of life form living right underneath our feet? They're somehow able to echolocate, bro, to the top of the earth and talk to us, right? Like, hey, where are you? We haven't left. Oh, snap, you know? That to me is more plausible. Like, if there wasn't anything else anywhere else, and it's just, and we are the center of the universe, Earth, the center of the universe on some hockey puck or whatever you want to call it, you know what I'm saying? And we're there. And what if we're just layered, bro? Like all the way down. Just, you know, underneath us is these freaking crazy looking things, and like these places exist. You can go there. Imagine how many we haven't discovered. Like these guys talking about finding a 5,000-year-old forest. Don't they say that Antarctica is like a forest or something underneath it?
There's a forest above it. There's a forest in the center of Antarctica with greenery and
Well,
a lake.
it's a wall, so I don't know how that works. But if it was a real place, right, it would be a forest.
I got a book here from it's the Reader's Digest Antarctica book, and that's what they talk about. That was like Admiral Byrd's major discovery of being in Antarctica, was that there's 100 square miles of lush greenery in the center of Antarctica.
Did he find the world tree? Is that what he did?
Might have found the tree of life. I don't know. Maybe.
Ooh. So this was discovered in 1991, bro. So imagine, that's not that long ago. Imagine how many other things are still laying around that we don't know about. So again, I think it's a real possibility. But I just don't know, you know, the whole holographic projection thing that you were talking about. And by the way, here, let's talk about the Reagan. This was in 1987, not 70s. I said 70s. So September 21st, 1987. And he says it down here. Yet need it be so? Cannot swords be turned to plowshares? Can we in all nations not live in peace? In our obsession with the antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bond. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet I ask you, is it not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war? That is such an interesting thing. Were there any famous alien movies out at the time in 1987?
I'm pretty sure because all of those big alien movies came out in like the 60s, like in the 50s and the 60s, like the really crappily made alien footage where they're like all on like
Oh, Aliens, 1986. So you think he watched and was like, "Yo, aliens are real."
hey, the way that art imitates reality or reality imitates art, you never really know. But I think that quote is really interesting. I've played it here before, and an alien threat is already among us, which is lend speculation to extraterrestrials creating human hybrids and all that. And you know,
So he
I
said he
mean,
was
what?
talking about the Jews.
Well, I mean, look just like below, like the United States, like that's the alien threat, or above the United States,
Oh,
that's the
okay.
alien threat, right? Like those are aliens. And they're already here, and they've been here for a long time, and they've been interbreeding with the people of the United States, right? It's it's word magic, dude. All of these words and all of these terms have double and
But he
triple
said
meaning.
outside of this world though. Is the US the world, like, or is that from like a more American, is that a more American thing to say? Like we
Well,
are
he
the
said
world?
from outside of this world, and then he says, "Is the alien threat not already among us?" But then he relates it to like war and how war is like pretty should be alien and foreign to our way of life, but it never has been. We've always been in war. There's always been war for as long as history goes back. So I don't. It's like it's a cryptic thing that he's saying there. I think
Hmm.
anyway, and that's what they do. Like the what is that called? The Freemasonic. It's like Freemasonic doublespeak, where they give you
Sure.
the perception of what they're saying, and when you believe in that perception, when they actually mean something completely different, they're talking about
Hmm.
something that goes so far over your head that you can't comprehend it. It's they're saying multiple meanings, but you're taking it as to meaning one specific thing when it might not actually mean that specific thing.
So he wasn't a Freemason, but he was an honorary member of the Scottish Rite. So what he kind of was involved in Masonic and shrine functions throughout his career. Mm. Seems like he was a Mason to me.
A
What a
little bit of
weird thing to
Mason.
say. Like
The
he wasn't gay, but he liked men. Okay, that's fine. It's a different way to say it, right?
double speak, baby. That's how it works. The crypto terrestrial theory is really interesting, and I think that it's highly plausible that may be the case. I mean, when you look at like just tribes in the Amazon rainforest now that freak out whenever we get anywhere near them, and if you were to go to like their land, they would probably try and kill you. But if we brought
Hmm.
a freaking cell phone to them and
That'd be
like
magic.
yeah, they'd be like, "Oh my God, what is this?" And there's evidence of that with the cargo cults during Vietnam. Like that's what would happen. The cult of John Frum. Like the Vietnam U.S. soldiers would go over there, and then they would land with their planes, and then bring them supplies and all that. And then they turned those soldiers into gods, and they worshipped them, and they tried to mimic what they would do. They would build their airplanes and the helicopters and the things that they would come in on. They would try to build sculptures out of them of with like hay and like shrubbery and leaves and all that. And they thought that they were gods. So how many of how throughout history, how many could it be possible that there was a slightly more advanced civilization while all these other civilizations were also very low in the totem pole? So whenever an advanced civilization that also lived on Earth went to one of these lower civilizations, would they not think that they were gods? I mean, we have that to this very day. I mean, in today's age, we have sections of people on the Earth that are living like essentially like cavemen.
100%. Yeah,
So it's
and they
like,
want to emulate their master or something. I get what you're saying. I see that.
so it's highly possible that we could have been those cave people back then, and then the people that we're another race of beings. I'm probably not explaining this in the best possible way, but it seems like that is probably the case. That there's been these breakaway civilizations throughout the period of history, and there's always been some group of people that has been more highly advanced, whether that be technologically advanced like we are compared to them in the Amazon rainforest now, or more advanced in their spirituality or like whatever, and we've mistaken them for like gods and extraterrestrials.
See, but then that, right, this idea of there being a highly advanced race that was wiped out for whatever reason, if they were that advanced, why would they get wiped out to begin with? But you know what I'm saying? That in itself is a conspiracy, right? Because that's what some people use for one of the most recent ones, Tartaria. It's like, look at all these buildings everywhere. It must have been a more advanced race of people that were here before us, and they were the ones that actually built this, and we found all this stuff. It's like, maybe, you know, then you get into the connection of the orphan trains and all that. That's kind of weird too, right? Where all the kids come from. Like it is, but my whole question is like, if they were so advanced, then why were they wiped out? Because that's what it seems to be all throughout history. The Mayans and these civilizations that just up and disappeared, right? The ancient Egyptians, they were what? If you look at mainstream history, it's like they were absorbed by the Hyksos and all these other. Who were the Hyksos? Some nomadic group. What? Like just some people that just, yeah, they were just around and they came and they took over, right? That's kind of bizarre, right? So
Well,
that's a conspiracy right there. Like,
that's the
who are
same
they?
type of situation with these UFOs constantly crashing. If they're such an advanced species of beings, like
Lousy
why,
pilots.
like why are there UFOs always crashing? Like you didn't take any countermeasures to figure out how to stabilize your highly advanced craft to not crash on Earth when you're coming by for an excavation.
So that's what makes me think of that being actually government technology, and then this whole concept of aliens being a cover story just to let people run wild with their imaginations. And even the concept, I recently did an episode where we talked about Crowley and his intelligence connections. And it turns out that once you really start to peel apart even the Bible, there was a lot of intelligence connections in there of like espionage and reconnaissance and all that stuff. And it's like, is the occult and everything else since the very beginning always been about just collecting intelligence? Because think about it, bro. Right? A lot of these whistleblowers that come out and they're like, oh, I can't talk about that. It seems that the most dangerous piece of information isn't the information on how to create the Philosopher's Stone. No one's getting killed because they know how to create the Philosopher's Stone. But it seems that the people who walked into the wrong room at the wrong time and saw somebody of very high political status or power doing something to somebody that they shouldn't have been doing, it seems like that piece of information or blackmail or something or other is the dangerous pieces of information, right? And if you really think about that concept, blackmail, think about the church when people give their confessions. You don't think that the church was using the confessions of the people that they were receiving to blackmail people, to leverage themselves and
100%.
put themselves in a higher position, bro? Like, hey, he can't see me, can he? Bro, he's looking straight at you as you're telling him that you did that. Your sins for the week? Yeah, tell me more, dude. Oh, I'm going to go report back to my higher up, the Pope or whoever it is. And it's like, hey, maybe we can get a little bit more, out of him, right? And just kind of sort of twist that and use that blackmail, bro. It's always been about that. And I think that the occult is just another way of like muddying the waters. Like, hey, can you control your reality and all this other bullshit and all? It's like, no, none of that matters, bro. That, in my opinion, might be code for something else, right? Like Trimetheus and this guy who wrote the Stenographia, where he wrote a book on how to communicate with angels, but in actuality, it was like a spy book on how to communicate between long distances and how to encrypt information inside of something that wouldn't otherwise be valuable information. So you could take a plain text and hide messages within that. And that was the true meaning of this grimoire that he had wrote. It's like, oh, look, this is about talking to the angels. Remember John D. and Edward Kelly? We're talking to the angels. Bro, you just fell for it. You took the dude's work and we're trying it for real. And I mean, he said that they were talking to angels. I don't know if they were or not. And the angels were like, hey guys, in order to achieve gnosis, you guys got to swap wives. Oh. Bro, how crazy is that, dude? How crazy is that?
Seems like every cult ever. That's the way
It's
that
like
works.
the angels in the back were just there. Just tell them that they got to swap wives to see what they do. These guys are so desperate. And they're like, all right, swap wives. And they're like, oh, all right, fine, we'll do it. And they did it. Like, because they wrote about it, bro. So that's how desperate some people are for like this higher level of gnosis and knowledge, that they're willing to literally swap wives in order to learn the secrets of reality. Because that's what they were promised, bro. They're like, we will reveal to you the secrets of the secrets, like the secrets of reality itself, to unfold it and bring forth the apocalypse. You got to swap wives first. You got to do it. And nothing ever came of that, bro. So even think about John D., the first 007. Again, espionage and in my opinion, blackmail. I think that's the most dangerous piece of information that you could have. Some forbidden information, like the whole Epstein types and all these other things that the Diddy list and all this other stuff that we haven't even heard about anymore. Like, that's the dangerous information. Because again, if they are doing it to worship Satan or something or other, that's up, for interpretation. But we know for a fact they're doing some heinous stuff, like 100%, right? If they were doing it for fun, which more than likely they were, that, bro. How much you want to bet that Diddy,
That Diddy what?
Himself. He
might, but then he might think that he's going to completely get away with it and get off on it. The 100% the Roman Catholic Church was guaranteed to be one of the first spy networks ever. Like they were the original CIA 100%. Spy networks. I mean, why wouldn't you use that? And how did the church become so powerful and basically be the governance of the entire world or whatever city that you were in? Is because everyone was telling them their secrets.
What a better way to keep people in check, bro, that they literally come to you to tell you everything because they want to be saved, right? Because they have this looming fear over their heads every single day that God is always watching them, and you have to confess your sins. And then once you do that, then you're good for the rest of the week. Oh, I feel so great. All right, another week of sinning. I'll see you next Sunday. And then they do something, they just keep it going, bro. That's the craziest thing. Now we tell on ourselves with like technology, in my opinion, with the technology and the surveillance state that we're experiencing now, we just tell on ourselves. Like, they can track you whenever they want, dude. They're listening to me right now, right? They're like, hey, we got to get to this guy. Cause I just went on a plane and the weirdest thing happened to me where I got on the plane and I was sitting, right? And the flight attendant goes all the way to the back and she goes, Juan Ayala? I'm like, yeah. Can I see your ID and your boarding pass? I go, yeah, sure. And my wife's looking at me like, are we in trouble, right? She made it seem like it was like this thing. So I give her my ID and my boarding pass. I thought I was gonna get kicked off the plane for like, I don't know, whatever. She had a list. She had like a list. She looked at my boarding pass and looked at the list and then gave it back to me. And I was the only person she did that to on the plane. So my wife was like, that was weird. And I go, the Juan on Juan podcast is probably on some list somewhere and they're watching me because I was the only person that she asked for my boarding pass and identification. And then she just left. It was the weirdest thing, bro. I don't know what it was, but it was weird. So I might be on some list somewhere. Like all the shit that we've talked, bro. 100%.
Whew, you might be. You're on the FBI, CIA most wanted list, baby. But I had something similar like that happen. I had never had. I've flown a lot, and as soon as I got on the plane, one of the flight attendants asked to see my boarding pass. They didn't ask for my ID or anything like that. They just wanted to see my boarding pass, and I was like, how do you think that I got on this plane? Like, you think they were going to let me
Exactly.
on the plane without my boarding pass? Why do you want to check it again on the plane?
You just checked it right before I got on here.
Yeah, like 2 minutes ago, someone just scanned this boarding pass to let me onto the tarmac to be able to get on this plane.
It's like,
And
hey,
they wanted to check it again.
the homunculus guy's on this flight. Go check him. He's talking too much. We gotta keep an eye on him.
He's going to summon the homunculi, the all great and powerful homunculi that's going to bring about the apocalypse, baby.
Yeah, dude. So again, I think that the whole alien agenda thing is hilarious, and it just came up because I was watching that Greer interview, and like people eat it up, man. They just hear the same thing over and over again, and it's just like this little glimmer of hope of that one day that the government will go on full disclosure. And it's like, dude, I want the real stuff. Show me the craft. Show
And
me
you got
the
Lou
ET.
Elizondo saying that something is going to happen very soon, something big, some big event. It's every single year. It's the same thing. It's coming. They're going to finally do it. They're finally going.
How long has he been saying that? For how long?
5 years at least.
Come on, dude. Come on,
At
bro.
least, dude.
It is weird though that like nowadays they're pushing it more and more, right? Did you end up watching the rig show? Did you end up watching that?
On Amazon.
Yeah.
I got it on my my most watch list. I got it on
so
the
you
watch
haven't.
list. I haven't watched it yet. No.
Oh, all right. We'll
There's
talk
too
about
much-
that next time.
Too much stuff going on right now. Dexter just ended. Been watching Dexter. Been watching Traders on Peacock. That one's about to be over with. I like some stupid TV too, bro. Come on.
Well, we'll watch it.
Great.
We'll watch it and then we'll talk about it next time because it's got to do with the whole fog thing that came up and all that stuff.
And
that
Yellow
people are saying.
Jackets season 3 just started too. That's a really good show. Have you seen it?
No, Yellow Jacket. I still got to watch From or whatever that show is.
Oh, dude, come on, bro. You haven't watched that yet, dude? Oh my
No.
god.
I'm sorry, dude.
God, it's
My
so
disappointment to you, bro.
good. Oh, little baby Ben. But it is a really good show, bro. Like, I haven't let you down with shows or movies yet, dude. So,
Not yet, bro. I'll watch. I'll check it out.
all right, bro. Let everyone know where they can find you online.
www.tjojp.com. You have to put the www because it equals 666 in gematria, so you gotta, put it in there. No, I don't know, for whatever reason it doesn't go if you just do tjojp.com, but yeah, put that website in. All my links are on there. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm everywhere. Spreaker, all that good stuff. Find me on there. It's just fun, bro.
You gotta put the www in there because he's a Fed, and that's the only way you can get his information.
That's right.
Thanks for coming on, brother. The links to Juan's information is in the description of this video. Please be sure to hit the thumbs up button, help the channel in the algorithm. Share, subscribe, hit the bell icon as well for notifications, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.